Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is M.A.Dkollection. So I'm kind of doing a series on like small business related activities, as you might have noticed. So first video I did say how the brand started and all of those things. So do well to check it out. I'm going to leave that in the description box down below. The next video I did was 7 apps you can use on in your Shopify platform, because one of the platforms we use is Shopify. We also use Etsy and Afrique. So Afrique is like a third-party platform. Etsy is also a third-party platform, mostly for handmade items. Okay, so today the video is going to be if it's better to use Shopify or if it's better to use Etsy. So a bit of background: I've had my Etsy store since November of 2015. I did mention that in my how the brand started video, so do you want to check that out? And I had my Shopify store website. So Shopify is the platform my website runs on. I've had that since 2010, so there's been like a massive gap in the years of when I started using Shopify to when I started using Etsy. Etsy I've been using for such a long time, until now I still use Etsy. So I'm going to be going into details of which platform is better. Now this is up to you to decide which one you want to use, if you want to use both or if you want to focus on one. But I'm just going to let you know the pros and cons of using Shopify and the pros and cons of using Etsy. So we'll get into the pros first, because I can't bear any good news. So pros of using Etsy. So like I said before, Etsy, it's a handmade third-party platform for curators to post their items on. But from when it first started till now, there's just been not a lot of handmade anymore. People just do random stuff on there. It's really changed much from when it started. But anyways, it's quite a big platform. I think it's the biggest handmade platform currently. So first pro with Etsy is because it's that big, like there are millions of users that go to the Etsy platform, able to pull your item on there, and Etsy generates its own traffic because there's that many people going there already. So it just generates the traffic and people are able to come to your store to order things. And you don't even need to, as long as your products have like good SEOs and it's good products as well and picture quality is nice, the chances of making sale without even trying to ad is quite high. So when I first started many years ago, even though I opened in November and our first sale came in back end of January, it did come. I did not need to run Etsy ads up until maybe in the last year or so. So all the sales we've been making from Etsy has just been organic traffic coming because of the Etsy platform and everything else we've done on the store to make it searchable. So that is one pro tip for using Etsy. The next thing for using Etsy is it's so easy to start using the platform. So if you've got a product, you can open your Etsy store now and start selling the next 10 minutes. Actually, 10 minutes is too much. You can start selling the next 5 minutes because it's so simple, so easy, like so quick. There's no technicality involved in starting the Etsy platform. It's just upload your products, put all the information. I think now you have to get I think there's like an £11 fee, one-off fee that you have to pay for using the Etsy platform. They did not used to have this many years ago, so I'm not sure why they're doing that. But anyways, I guess they've got a business to run as well. The only thing you get to pay for, apart from this £11 fee I've just mentioned, which is actually a new thing, is you also get to pay 20p for your listing. So it's like the startup fee is so low and the technicality is almost non-existent. So it's so easy to start on Etsy and start making sales right away. Sometimes it can take a lot long to get your first sale, but starting an Etsy shop, it's that quick. Anyways, Third thing for using Etsy is not expensive. So this kind of ties into my previous point. It's the startup cost is not that much with Etsy. You get the £11 registration one-off fee, and then each product you put online is 20 pence to get it going. So if you're, say, starting up with 5 products, for example, it's going to cost you just £12 to start your Etsy shop, and you can start making sales immediately, depending on how you promote your shop as well. So that's 3 pros of using Etsy. Cons of using Etsy is, even though I said it has a low startup cost fee, there was a caveat to that. Now, Etsy takes so much, like this transaction fees on Etsy is mad. It's ridiculous. So they will charge you 6.5% transaction fees. There is like when you see the fees that come off, ooh, especially if you have a high ticketed product, oh, it's really annoying to see all that deduction coming off. So you can make a sale of £300 as an example. Etsy can, no jokes, end up taking at least £50. It is annoying, but the transaction fees and all the other fees they take off you. And when I first started, all these fees did not exist. It was so easy back then to use Etsy, but now they have more people on the site, and their transaction fees and all their fees are now like super high. I'm like, guys, come on. Anyways, second con or drawback of using Etsy, high competition. So you know how I said that Etsy is one of the largest handmade platform, third-party platform, shop, whatever. Because there is that many people that flock to Etsy to come and buy things, there are also so many people that sell things on Etsy. So if I'm selling this sweatshirt as an example, there's probably hundreds. It's hard to find a product that you would sell that nobody else is doing. The chances are 0 to none, 1 to none. Like, there's so many now, because there's that many people on there, the chances for competition is quite high as well, because whatever you're making, somebody else is making it. And obviously, because everybody's trying to stay competitive, sometimes you have to reduce your price. Saying this to say, you do not have to reduce your cost if you know the value or the worth of what you're offering, because there are people that have items that are quite high and quite expensive, and they still sell very well on Etsy. So make sure you know the value of what you're offering and the value of your product, and leave it that way. The people that actually know good things would order it for sure. Anyway, so yeah, competition on Etsy is quite high. So the third con of using Etsy is you do not own the data. Everything, like, they don't give you that much information about the customer. So say a customer orders something and you want to ship it. So we ship with UPS, which means we have to put the customer's phone number as a mandatory field. Now, Etsy does not provide that information. So we usually have to send a message to the customer to say, please, can you provide your phone number so we can add to the shipment form. So all that information is not there at your fingertips for you to get. Over to Shopify. Advantage of using Shopify is you can do whatever you want on your website. So I have tried using another platform. I think it was Wix I tried using. Compared to Shopify, I think like Shopify tops the charts. Now, nothing in this video is sponsored. I just need to mention, I'm just saying this from my knowledge and experience of running an e-commerce business for the last X amount of years. So Shopify, you can do whatever you want to do. You can customize your site to how you want to customize it to, which that's one of the cons on Etsy I did not mention. There's little to no customization that you can do on your shop on Etsy. But on Shopify, you've got the luxury of doing it however you want your website to look. So that is one of the advantages of using Shopify. Second advantage, you own all the customer data. So as soon as they come on your store, they can sign up to your newsletter. There's so much apps you can use to drag the customer in. You can resell to them, you can upsell to them, you can post sell to them, you can retarget them after if they decide not to order from you at the minute. Like, there's so much you can do with that customer data, especially when you've got a newsletter app. So if you watch my last video, 7 apps, some of the apps we use for our website on Shopify, I did mention OmniSend. So that's the app we use for our newsletter. So if someone comes on and put in their email and all their information there, we can retarget them, we can resell to them. So it's just fantastic to have all that customer data on Shopify. Third advantage on Shopify, there's no listing fee. Now, there's a caveat to this, because the cost of posting, like on Shopify, we have hundreds and hundreds of items on Shopify, but on Etsy, we have very little. No, not very little, but compared to the amount of items we have on Shopify, we have way less on Etsy, because every time you relist items on Etsy, they charge you 20p. But on Shopify, whether you take it off or take it back on or whatever, there's no charge to it. Everything stays as it is. You can add like 1 million products, you can add 1,000 products. It's your website. You can do whatever you want to do at no additional cost. Whereas there's additional cost for every item you add on Etsy. So that's the third advantage of using Shopify. Now, to the disadvantage, Shopify, it's your website. You have to drive your own traffic. And when I tell you that is hard, especially if you're like a new business and you're just starting up, you have to drive your traffic. And boy, that is hard. Even as for someone that we've been in business for a long time, it's still hard to drive traffic, because obviously there are many ways you can use to drive traffic. You can use organic method, which is posted on social media platforms. If you have a blog you've created and all of those nice things, you can get people to find your store that way, which is fantastic. Or you can run paid ads. You can run Google ads, you can run Facebook Meta ads, you can run TikTok ads. And the ads can be quite pricey depending on the time of the season, or depending on how much you decide to spend on your shop. It can be quite pricey and quite technical to know how to get people on your store, which compared to Etsy, if you want to drive traffic, so say you decide to run Etsy ads, for example, you just put in your budgets and Etsy does all the hard lifting for you. You don't need to know your customized page, you don't need to put their age range, you don't need to put all of that like we'd usually put in Meta ads or in TikTok ads as an example. So the technicality in running ads on Shopify is not just hard, it is expensive running everything on Shopify. So you have to get to a stage where you'd either get it done yourself when it comes to running ads, or you can get an agency to run your ads for you, which in itself is another cost, and that is different from how much you'd pay Meta when you're running ads on their platform. So it can get expensive really quickly. So that is one of the major disadvantage of using Shopify, trying to get your traffic by yourself. And then the third thing is the technicality. There's quite a lot of technicality involved in Shopify if it's something you've never done before. And for someone that has an IT degree, not just undergraduate IT degree, I've also got IT degree in my master's. So I spent most of my life doing IT. And can I just mention distinction? That's a distinction student you're speaking to right now. I just had to plug that in because that degree, I have not used it for nothing. So when we get to times where we need to mention it, I mention it like easily. Okay, so when I first got on there, it wasn't too bad, you know, because obviously I have an idea of how this thing works and I'm able to figure things out, like troubleshoot and get things fixed. But if you have no idea of how, like, any technical involvement, so the only time I had to get someone to sort something on the back end of my Shopify store is when you're trying to link the pixel. Obviously, you're trying to run ads, you have to link pixels. If you're doing stuff on Google Ads, you have to link your Google to your Shopify. Same thing with TikTok. Some of them I was able to fix by myself. The others I had to get someone to do that for me, which would not have happened if you're running Etsy ads. It's just straightforward, put in your budget and that's it. So Shopify can get technical very, very quickly, and sometimes you have to hire someone to get your shop up to how you want it to be. There are times you need to change the codes in your Shopify platforms. If you're doing upgrades, it's just there is a lot involved with using Shopify. I know people can say, oh, it's so easy to use Shopify. Easy is relative. It depends on who is using it. So yeah, those are all the that's not all, but those are some of the things that you would experience using Shopify, the advantages and disadvantages of using Shopify, and the advantages and disadvantages of using Etsy. So if I want to recommend, now depending on the product you have, I would say start with Etsy. Get the ball rolling, because you can use that to test your products or use it to do market research. This does not apply to dropshipping, by the way. This is for, and I think dropshipping actually works on Etsy sometimes, depending on how people do it. But I have no idea how dropshipping works. So I'm talking based on handmade items or items that you can create yourself. So you can use Etsy to test the waters, do market research. You can run ads on Etsy. You can get your site up and running. You can get customer data from Etsy, which by the time you then move to Shopify, that's something I had to do. So because I had been on Etsy that long, by the time I was moving over to Shopify, I did not want my newsletter to be empty. So guess what? I moved all my newsletter, I copied manually. This is a manual involvement in the spreadsheet. I copied their names, I copied their email addresses, and I think their location, put that on a spreadsheet, and then imported that into my Shopify newsletter. And some of my customers from Etsy actually moved across to Shopify with me, which is fantastic. So that is a way to look at it when you're starting out without having to spend too much, because trust me, the cost is going to start adding up quite quickly when it comes to using Shopify. Because first of all, you're going to start paying, I think you do £1 for 3 months or something with Shopify, and then you start paying £25 every month. If you have apps, that starts to add up. If you have a newsletter, that starts to add up. So you can end up spending £150 at least on Shopify without even making any sale in that month. But if I carry that £50 and go on Etsy, if I run Etsy ads, so say I decide to do $5 Etsy ads for a few days, there is no way you would not generate, even if it's 1 or 2 sales. It's almost impossible. Well, let me not say it's almost impossible, because it's worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. So yeah, it's definitely going to work better on Etsy depending on the product you have compared to Shopify. But if you're a guru in running ads, if you already have traffic, or if you already have a huge social media following, by all means, just go straight to your Shopify store and get everything sorted and get it up and running, because the fees on Etsy can be quite high. So that's it from me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the content of this video and you found some value in it. If you have, you know what to do. Remember to like, share this video with anyone that you think would need it, anyone and everyone. Subscribe if you're already subscribed, and turn on the bell icon so when I post any videos, which is going to be a series for the next X amount of days. So do well to follow my journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.